This is part 2 of Adobe Illustrator Classroom in a Book, Chapter 3. We're going to go ahead and continue on building our postcard. Now, when we left, we were having a little bit of trouble getting our mountains to look correct. Part of our problem is when we went to transform, we weren't seeing that make all sides equal. That's because all sides already are equal. So let's go ahead and with our selection tool, make our triangle uneven now. Let's go to our more options, and now we get that make sides equal option. So now we want to go ahead and curve the top. So what we can do, if I just click here, I don't really get the same options that I did before, so let's close that up. Let's go ahead and grab our direct selection tool and double click on it. I'm going to put cancel and pull down until I get kind of that nice rounded top to equal my mountain. So I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead, grab our selection tool. We forgot to group our bones from before, so let's go do a marquee around those and do group. And let's go ahead and pull that guy out of the way. So we've got some room in order to build our shape. Now our shape we're going to actually do with the shaper tool. So over here, if you look about 5 down or so, you get the shaper tool. It's kind of a circle with a pen through it. So go ahead and grab that shaper tool and go ahead and draw some type of rectangle. So you notice it actually cleans up the artwork that you had already created, which is pretty nice because I can't draw stick figures. So if I want it to go away, if I kind of just go through it with a crooked line, it'll make that shape go away, which is pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and make some type of ellipse. So clearly I can't draw an ellipse, but the computer can straighten that out for me, which is a really, really good thing. So I need to turn this ellipse actually into part of my shape that is going to create this sail on my boat right here. So how do we do that? We're going to go ahead, and once we've got it selected, we can edit shapes without having to really switch tools. So we're going to click on the ellipse with the shaper tool in order to select it. So we've got it selected. We've got the bounding boards now. And let's go ahead and pull a corner until we get it to turn into a circle. And you can tell you get a circle when you get those perfect crosshairs right there. And I'm going to go ahead and let go. That's kind of a huge circle. I don't need it to be that big, so I'm going to shift and pull down and make it a much smaller circle. So now I've got my first part of my sail that I'm going to create. Let's go ahead, and we need to make 2 of them. So let's do a Shift Alt and pull. And let's go ahead and create that second circle. So now I've got the 2 pieces that are going to be part of my sail. I need to connect them with a rectangle. So I'm going to go up here to my rectangle tool, grab my rectangle. I'm going to go over here till I hit the word anchor. Once I hit anchor, I'm going to pull down until I hit the other one and get that perfect alignment. And I see my other anchor, and I let go. So you can kind of see here's that front edge of your sail starting to come into place. So let's play with a little more. Let's go back to our shape tool, and we want to make part of this shape go away. So we're actually going to take and drag a line all the way across, and I did the wrong one. So part of that is because I had only part of it. I had the rectangle selected. So let's go ahead with our shaper tool. Shaper tool. Let's go ahead and click a blank area to deselect all the areas so we don't have anything selected. And now let's do that line. So now you can see I'm starting to get that actual shape of my sail. So now I've got this line here that I really don't want to have. So we're going to make that go away. I'm going to do another scribble, but just within. So now you can see you kind of have the beginning of that shaper starting to happen. Let's go ahead and look at our shaper group, and let's go ahead and go over the outline of the shape. You'll see this merged group, so you can see where the original shapes are, which is kind of nice. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and I get this up arrow. You get the up or the down arrow to help you select underlying shapes within that shape itself. So we might want to play with one of those shapes to make it a little bit less perfect. So let's go ahead and select the stroke of the circle on the left. So just this guy right here. So now I've got just that shape. Now I want to go ahead and grab Alter Option and make it just a little bit narrower. So I'm kind of changing how much of a dip there is in the back of that sail. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go ahead and hit Escape to stop editing. And let's go here to our fill color. And let's go ahead and choose kind of a light gray. So let's go to the one that ends with 5. So it's a really pale gray right now. And let's make sure the stroke doesn't have one at all. Let's take the stroke off. Alright, so now we can take our boat, which we already had. Let's grab our selection tool and bring it up to our sail. Clearly our sail is way too big, so I'm going to take with my shift and bring it down until I've got it kind of the right proportion for what we are creating. And use my arrow keys back and forth to adjust it accordingly. Now I have the beginnings of my boat. I'm going to grab my selection tool, grab all those pieces, and create a group. So now I have one single piece, which is my boat. Alright, so now we want to use something called image trace. So remember when I told you you don't have to draw the island at the beginning. This is how we're actually going to do it. We're going to go over here to the bottom and switch artboards. So I'm going to go to the one marked next. So that'll bounce me to the very next artboard. Now what we can do with image trace is turn a raster picture, so an actual picture made up of pixels, and turn it into something that is a vector with live paths, things we can actually play with and paint. So let's go File and come down here to Place. We want to make sure we're in our Lessons 3 folder, and we want to grab this one called Map or Island. We want island.png and Place. And you're going to see you get this loaded cursor. With the loaded cursor, go ahead and line it up with the edges of the bleed that we created earlier and hit Enter. And now it has placed that image for us. But we still need to play with it a little bit more. So if we go over to our Properties panel over on the right, let's go ahead and hit Image Trace and pop up Low Fidelity Photo. So it's going to change it a little bit. It starts changing it into an actual image. But we want to play with it even a little bit more. And let's go ahead from the drop down right next to Image Trace, where it says Low Fidelity, go ahead and change that to 6 colors. And it's going to go through the process again. So you see that we used to have a bunch of little lines here. Now we don't have quite as many little detailed lines. So let's go up to here, to the top of our image trace, and hit the Auto Color button. It's kind of a gear with a little globe. So Auto Color, it's going to go through and do that process once again. So up here it allows you to change the image that you're tracing in quite a few different ways. Alright, let's go down here to our colors and let's take it down to 20. And let's pop down the Advanced menu with the triangle. Our paths, we want it to be 50%. Our corners, we want them to be 25%. And for noise, let's take it down to 8 pixels. Come on. It's thinking. Right, so noise, oh, it's thinking. Take it down to 8 pixels. And note, you don't have to put px or inches or anything else. It does that automatically for us. Alright, now let's close that image trace panel. So we notice that it actually looks a little bit, it's relatively similar to what we had before, but still a little bit different. So with it still selected, we're going to go over here to the right to the expand button. And the expand is going to go ahead and show us all of the different paths now that are created to create that image. So it's no longer a image tracing, but it's now several paths that are grouped together. Let's go ahead and go to Object and hide Selection, because we don't want to actually see it for a few minutes. We want to add, let's go back to the original, we now want to add this border. So we're going to do that by masking. When we're using Illustrator, we've got three different modes. We've got normal draw mode, which is what we use most of the time. We've got draw behind or draw inside. So we've got a couple different things we can play with. Let's go ahead and File and Open. And we want to grab that map-edges.ai and open. So now you'll see we get kind of that funky border for us. With our selection tool, let's go ahead and click on the orange map. And let's go Edit and Copy. We're then going to pop back over to our postcard. And we want Edit, Paste in Place. You notice that sometimes when you paste things, it pastes it right to the middle, which sometimes you don't want. We want Paste in Place in this time. Alright, so with this orange shape selected, it still is, let's go ahead and click the Draw Inside button, because we want to actually put something within this frame. And let's go ahead and do a Control-Shift-A to deselect it. Now we can tell we have that Draw Inside chosen because we get this funky little dotted line. Alright, so how does it work? Well, let's do a little demo. Let's grab an ellipse and draw over top of our corner of our map. Do a fill of pink or something so you can kind of see. Now because Draw Inside is selected, you can see that it only drew inside that box. It did not draw anything outside that box. So that's kind of what the Draw Inside does. We can do a Control-Z a couple times to get rid of that element. Let's do a Control-S to save and keep going. Alright, let's go to Object and Show All. So now you see you have the beginnings of your map here, but it's not quite there. So we need to play with it a little bit. We need to go to our selection tool. We need to edit. And we need to cut. So we're actually cutting part of it out. And then we're going to edit. And we're going to do paste in place. And you notice now all that extra has now been hidden by the mask that we have in there. Alright, so let's go ahead and switch to our Draw Normal mode. And we have our map. Let's do a Control-S for that one. So what else can we do? We need to play with things a little bit more. Let's make sure we've deselected. Control-Shift-A. Let's go ahead and grab our selection tool and click on that island artwork. Now, maybe we don't like the way this island is appearing within the border itself. Maybe we want to play with it a little bit. So we want to go over here to our panel that says Isolate Mask. With our Isolate Mask, we get into that isolation mode. We can take our artwork, drag it around, and position it differently within that postcard without moving everything else around, which is awesome. Alright, when we're done, we can hit Escape, and it'll put us back where we used to be. I'm going to click outside to deselect. I'm going to do a Control-S to save. Alright, so now what we're still missing is we can close Map Edges. We're missing kind of this light gray background. So how are we going to make that happen? Well, we're going to play with Draw Behind. So we're going to go over here to the panel, to the toolbar, go to Draw Behind, and we want to go ahead and make sure we grab our rectangle tool. And we're going to draw a rectangle from one bleed over to the other bleed. And it's a really beautiful color of orange. Now because we said Draw Behind, it actually acted like a layer and put it behind. So let's go ahead and look at our fill and come up with a slightly better color. Let's go to kind of that tannish color. C25, M25, let's go over a little bit more. And I don't care which color you choose, just pick a color. Alright, so let's go ahead and do Object, Lock, Selection. That way when you're trying to work on bringing over your elements, you don't accidentally start grabbing that background and moving it around. So let's go ahead and start finishing up our postcard. So we've got all these different elements that we built that we need to now put in place. Let's grab our selection tool and our X marks the spot, bring it over, and you'll notice that it now comes behind. Well, we can skip that. We can make it better. Let's go ahead and do another step. Let's go to this artboard. Let's go to Select. Select all on Active Artboard. And then let's go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. So now all of these items will now come on top of the map instead of underneath the map, which is good. So let's go ahead and grab our X marks the spot, bring it over. You can use your Shift and keep figuring out where your X marks the spot's going to be. And we're going to decide, okay, within our X marks the spot, you're going to find diamonds. So let's go ahead and bring some of those over. Once again, they're really huge, so I'm going to scale them down. I can just do a Control plus and zoom in a little bit. And I decide I want another one, so I can Shift, I can hold Alt and click. And let's put another diamond in there. Alright, so what else can we have? Let's look at our sample. They've got some diamonds, we've got some mountains, we've got some skull and crossbones. Let's assume that's a cemetery. So let's go over to our artboard. You can use your things down here to grab that artboard. And we can drag straight across. We can do View, Fit All in Window. Bring those over. I'm going to Shift and pull it down. You can always use your arrows to adjust where those are going to go. I'm going to hit Alt and grab, make another one. So I've got a couple different. I'm going to grab my ship and bring my ship over here to my ocean. Obviously it's a really big ship. Let's hit Shift and bring it down. Kind of make it a little bit better. And the last thing you're going to do is play with these mountains. So let's bring the mountain over. Clearly my mountain is huge. So I'm going to go ahead, and gray mountains are kind of gross, so let's go to Fill. And let's make it, I'll make it a, we can make, oh, maybe not blue. Maybe a brown mountain. And then I want another mountain, so I'm going to hit Alt and bring it down. I can Shift, I can play with it, I can make it different sizes, I can make it different colors. So it's totally up to you as to where you're going to put the mountains and how you're going to treat these things. So basically you have now created this amazing postcard, but you still have this artboard over here. So let's go ahead and go to Window and do Artboards. And now that that artboard is empty, we know it's Artboard 1. We can take Artboard 1 and throw it in the trash. So now you're down to one single element. So I can do my View, Fit Artboard in Window. And there's our awesome, amazing postcard. Now, because we did not use any fonts or anything in this one, we don't really have to worry about packaging. Do a file, make sure you're saving, and submit it to Canvas.